Hey, how's it going everybody? Welcome back to another Empires and Puzzles video. We have the Soul Exchange back again at long last. If you're getting frustrated with Empires and Puzzles, let me just say that Gemstone Legends probably has the things you're looking for. They have a mercy system that guarantees a legendary hero after a certain amount of pulls, and we're not just talking about a weak legendary hero from a pre-selected list. They have a wish list that you can put any hero in the game on to boost your chances of pulling that specific hero. They take into account player feedback, and many of the changes that have gone live in the game were based on player feedback or were player suggestions to begin with. They're even going to give you a free $50 starter bonus just for downloading from one of the links in the description. If the earlier stuff somehow wasn't enough, you can be a hero in wars even just using rare heroes only. They have tons of events that allow you to earn free 10 pulls and other very usable high value stuff. Gemstone Legends really has a lot going for it, so come check it out if you're curious to see why tens of thousands of people have left Empires and Puzzles to come play. And I wish I could say I'm doing my typical blind reaction. However, it's become the normal for this to get leaked sometimes weeks in advance. So I think many people have already seen these. I have already seen them without even trying to. So we're just going to go through and I'm going to give my thoughts on them at the different levels to hopefully help you make a more informed decision and something that you'll feel satisfied with long term, which is my primary goal. All right, so as usual, starting at the level of 10, we have Viscaro, older hero of the month. The stats are kind of shocking when you look at what's out there now for event heroes that are well over 2400 HP sometimes. So he's definitely suffering from stats and slow mana speed. 220 to all enemies is very low for slow speed. We see fast speed heroes doing more than that now. Damage bypasses minions. Okay, not super helpful. Summons a sapling fiend for all enemies. 50% health on the fiend, which is a lot. Attacks from a cursed sapling fiend deal extra damage if the target has minions. Don't expect it to deal that much. They're doing 60% attack, which is not nothing, but I can't suggest Viscaro to anybody. Not a very good element link either. Plus 10% attack is almost not even noticeable. Passives real quick. Negative effects and damage from minions. The only thing that he has going for him is that he can't be targeted by mana cutting minions, for example, which is good, but not enough that he can actually make a meaningful difference if you even found yourself in that position. And when they summon a minion, they get a fiend. Yep, I just can't suggest this guy. Stats are too dated, and his overall offerings are minimal. Gilligan. Another slow speed hero of the month, okay? 300% damage to the target and nearby is very low for slow speed. 60% chance to bypass buffs, not a lot of utility there. All allies get plus 35% defense for 4 turns. Element Link gives plus 5% chance to dodge. I cannot recommend him either. Let's see, passive. Gains a small amount of mana for every active status effect buff that the enemy team has at the start of each turn. So this can speed him up considerably, which is something to keep in mind. There are so many buffs on defense these days with meta teams that he could gain a lot more mana than what would be justified for slow speed. So you could actually potentially fire him at fast speed. I haven't seen any testing, and I haven't done any testing myself to know just how much of a difference this makes, but it is not something to be ignored. Innate resistance against status ailments that affect mana. So he's getting his mana, but 300%, oh man, this is rough for only 3 heroes and just bypassing buffs and giving a little defense. You'd have to have a really strong setup. And even, those defense teams that are giving all those buffs, they're also boosting health a lot. So his damage is going to be lagging significantly behind. And even if you can charge him at the equivalent of average or maybe even fast speed, the damage is not enough that after those turns that have elapsed, that he'll make a difference with the damage that he's doing. So again, even though there's aspects of him that are tuned to this meta, I cannot suggest him either. Stats are quite low as well, so the damage is going to suffer significantly. All right, next up we have probably Peridot, not Peridot, but either way. Stats are suffering a bit, but we're seeing over 800 attack. Defense is low, which is how the ninjas used to be before they decided, let's just make them unbalanced and over the top. And that's more where we're at now. Heroes in general, I guess, but charge speed hero. So first one, 240 to the target. Not very good. Target receives 220 poison over 2 turns. Not very good. Decreased accuracy to 1 hero. Decently good. You could use this, to up your chances of surviving a battle where you have an impending hit from a particularly dangerous hero. 35% is nothing. If we look at the second speed, which is usually where the ninjas shine, especially this kind of, not the oldest crop of them, but sort of the middle oldest, deals 280% damage to the target and nearby enemies, which is decent damage for a 9-tile charge. I think you can get them up to 8 maybe with the right troops and bonuses. The target and nearby enemies receive 438 poison over 3 turns. Keep in mind, that's going to go up with emblems, limit breaks, and troops. So that's starting at about 150 per turn and probably can pretty easily get close to 250, which is significant. And now you have minus 40% accuracy. So this second charge is pretty decent and can definitely be used in the right team. I'm surprised to see this hero at 10, to be honest. Last one, 320 to all. 764 poison over 4 turns, so we're well over 150 per turn now without any troops or emblems. Let's see what this goes up to actually, since we can add this. So this still doesn't factor in troops, so even if you didn't double limit break, the stat boost, it's going to be a little bit less from troops than from a double limit break, but 1040 over 4 turns is the best you can hope to see it. So that's about 260 exactly, I believe, and minus 54% accuracy. So I can already say at the level of 10, that is the hero that I would recommend. Good class as well. Next we have Crave Crush. Dated stats again. Passive starts with 20%, which helps the average speed. That's going to be a fast speed charge on the first one, I think is what that equates to. I don't remember the actual math for that, but I can't imagine having 20% mana not equaling fast. All enemies can't revive their allies or themselves for 5 turns. That's the best thing about this hero. All enemies can't receive new status effects that would resurrect them. Second best thing. Deals 430 damage to the target and minor to nearby. So pretty decent damage. Suffering a little bit at average speed, but you're able to get that out there quicker on the first charge with the passive. And being able to block revive for 5 turns is quite a long time. And 5 turns in rush attack is almost equivalent to 10 turns. That lasts a long time. So that is to say, this hero I see as having a big impact against reviving teams. Not really the meta anymore, so that's something to keep in mind, but strong utility there. However, I don't see us being in a place right now with the game where battling revivers is the most important thing. So the utility of this hero being the best part is suffering a little bit in the current meta. Iris. Fast speed, 325 to the target and minor to nearby. 325 to all 3 would have been much better. Dispels buffs from the target and nearby enemies at the end of each turn for 3 turns. Extra damage against fire, plus 10% attack. Pretty poor element link. Decent skill, and it's nice to have this continuous dispel. That can cause some problems, but she doesn't really do enough to be that dangerous. So the thing you'll have to factor in is, are her stats good enough, and is her damage good enough to try to keep up in the portion of the game you're playing with? I don't want to assume that everyone is fighting the top meta defenses, because that is simply the furthest thing from the truth in the game. In fact, the vast majority of players are free to play or cheap to play and are battling at not the meta level. So factor that in with your team. I can't evaluate these heroes based on every level that someone could be at, so you'll have to do a little bit of that assessment on your own. But just comparing against the newer heroes, since that's a point of reference that we all have. Alright, mana on buff dispel. This character receives 10% mana each time a buff is dispelled from them. The effect can only activate once per turn. So this would be nice if it was triggered by her ailment dispelling on enemies, but it's not. It's triggered when a buff is dispelled from her, which is a little bit niche, and resistant to burn is like, okay, that's better than nothing. But yeah, of this level, I have to say that this hero is probably more objectively the best. It's tough to totally say that, but that's where I'm at right now. All right, next up, Sashat costume. Under 700 defense is wild, but this costume bonus is absolute dog shit, which is surprising because they've bumped a lot of the costume bonuses up. Like, her stats were already suffering way more than challenge event heroes and season 3 and season 4, but those got a massive buff. And she's still sitting at 3, 3, 6, and 1, which is like what the 4 stars are at. So no idea why they've left the heroes of the month in the dust. They're already weaker heroes. Give them a boost and let people be a little more playable with them. So that is a big point against her. I'm shocked that she's at the 15 level because she is not that good. Dispels buffs from the target and nearby enemies, deals 370 to the target. If that was to the target and nearby enemies, that would be more of a hero to consider, but 370 to 1 is awful. 18% replicator minion, so every turn for 3 turns. The minion replicates a clone of itself every 3 turns, indefinitely. 4% mana generation to all allies, dark allies for 4 turns. You can't recommend her. She's immune to mana reduction, which is nice, but the damage is so ridiculously low that even with the spell and all this other stuff, she's not going to do a lot for you. Alright, Wolfgang. I still use this guy for farming all the time because he does have the benefit of giving some health, so you can auto farm more reliably, because if the AI has a bad start on your behalf, then you can still survive longer with his boosted health. 250 to all. Caster reduces received damage by 50% for 4 turns, which is nice. After 4 turns, caster boosts health of all allies by 600. I believe this does go up. It does not go up. 600. Stats are quite low again. He's decent. He could add some utility for sure. So you'll have to consider if you have a place for a hero like this or a team where you can maximize his damage with either an on-color attack boost or an on-color defense down, or obviously holy elemental defense down would help as well. Decent family bonus here. Chance to make cast buffs indispellable with 2 or 3 heroes on the team. Not my strongest pick here, but one worthy of consideration. Kongolok. Pretty cool hero. Again, held back by Slowspeed. Special skill damage reduction. Again, stats are where we're seeing all the stats here. Deals 310% damage to hit targets. Deals an additional 300% to hit targets. Interesting. Deals an additional 310% damage to 4 random enemies. So I guess you get to aim one of the hits and the rest are random. And then you get attack down stacks. So the utility here is good, and he's really good at wiping out taunt heroes because every single hit is on the same target, which is great. The attack down doesn't do anything at that point, but at least you're killing someone that is a barrier to you at the moment. So worthy of consideration. Slowspeed is tough to work with. This is not the kind of person that you want to just raid with without any strategy of how to reliably and consistently boost his mana. So like on a team with Ludwig, for example, great synergy there. I used him that way for a while and was kind of excited about him, and he's fallen by the wayside recently. Still very usable, obviously better in rush attack, things like that. Just not fantastic. He's got great things about him, but the slow speed really hurts. I think he was used a lot in events for a while because he does a lot of damage total per cast, which is what's valuable in events. But that's what I think about him. Asterius, we had at 20 souls at one point. He's down to 15. Stats are hurting once again. 360 to the target and nearby is quite nice and the best damage that we've seen so far, I believe, in terms of a hit 3. Reduces the duration of target and nearby enemies' buffs by 1 turn, which is a nice little bonus. And then this corrosive burn is pretty great. Let's see, that goes up to 133, so it doesn't move that much. Keep that in mind if you're deciding whether to limit break or not to try to boost these numbers. It's going to boost his primary damage for sure. However, the burn went up to 133 from 101, so you increase his attack stat by by not quite 300, and there's a very negligible gain. Same thing with heroes that cast minions. Increasing the HP of that hero can increase the minion HP, but it's usually by such a small amount that I wouldn't recommend building them differently just for that purpose. And same thing here with him and this corrosive fire. It is nice, and it also lowers defense by 16% each turn for 3 turns. So that gets up to minus 48% defense, and it is a separate icon from normal defense down, so it does stack. So if you didn't take him before, he's still playable. I still use him typically more so in a rush format where I can make 2 matches in red and kill 3, and he's part of that kill 3 because he does good damage and does a little extra defense down, which can help the final hitter. All right, Glenda, very popular until second costume Grim came out from Mythic Titans because of the caster and nearby allies' special skills deal an additional 40% damage for 4 turns. So people flank her with 2 Pengies and go to work on the Mythic Titan. Now you have double costume Grim, so up to you to determine whether that is still useful for you. Yes, she's serviceable elsewhere. Average speed is probably hurting her the most, but 270 to the target and nearby is decent. I would hope to see that at fast speed, but she's from 2020, so that's the way things were going. This was one of the first breaks in art where people are like, what the fuck is this art? You know, like she looks like she doesn't belong. And now we've got all kinds of stupid shit. So just remembering that though, from 2020, seeing her coming out being like, what the hell is this? Cleanses status ailments from all allies, which is pretty nice. Element Link summons an ice minion with 6% HP, almost worthless, and in many situations a liability. Again, good for the Pengi situation because you're keeping more minions there and helping Pengi deal more damage. Passive, resist buff, immunity, very niche. So she's usable, not really worth the scopes in my opinion at this point because you can use Grim to a very similar effect, and I believe their speed is the same, so not a lot of advantages here, though she is better. It's just not worth the huge investment of scopes and all that. All right, finally, the 20 soul tier. 5 more heroes to discuss. I'll let you know who I chose, and we'll call it quits for the day. Khonshu deals 425 to the target. If the attack defeats the target, the caster gains 50% mana, which at very fast speed means only 3 non-ghosted tiles to charge him again. So on the right team, like with Sergei, for example, Nyx, and Khonshu, you can kill at least 1 hero. Pretty much, probably just 1. But there are some possible synergies there. So he does have a very interesting and playable mechanic. Stats are obviously not hurting nearly as bad as the other ones were, which is why we're seeing him at 20. Also got this passive for a 40% chance to deal 70% damage to all enemies and all enemies get minus 24% mana generation for 3 turns, which can definitely mess you up, and that's just a free bonus there. I never maxed this hero. He's certainly playable. You're going to need the right synergy because you want to make sure that he's getting the kill shot and that you know he'll be getting the kill shot. These are double limit broken stats. Pretty decent. That's a big investment though. So yeah, interesting mechanic here, very playable, but highly synergy dependent. Leidenbrock, no costume. Once upon a time was one of the best healers in the game. She's fallen by the wayside. She also gets this 20% mana at the start of the battle, which I believe makes her functionally fast speed at 9 tiles, which is pretty great for a slow hero, but it does mean subsequent casts are going to suffer more, and you'll really feel that change in speed. Cleanses first, which is one of the best things. I think Ferdinand is the new and improved version of her despite not having boosted health. Because he's in the same color, the same class, he also cleanses first. However, he's average speed. Boosts health of all allies by 200, which is not significant, but it counts. It does something right away at least. It's not just a heal over turn. All allies regenerate 600 boosted health over 4 turns. Boosted health can exceed max HP. The effect duration resets if the target receives status ailments. So that was the best thing about her. If you tried to target her with certain abilities, this heal just keeps going, and she was used in Rush a lot because it could be hard to come back from this. A simple dispel will remove it. So for some people, this could be the right hero to take. If you're in need of good 5-star healers, this could be beneficial to you. However, she is suffering from some of the things that we're seeing older heroes suffer from, and you got to take that into account. Her costume, fantastic improvement, but of course it is not included here. All right, Lubei, one of the more popular heroes and was part of the Kingdom Hero Defense Team Dynasty at one point, where people were using all these heroes with minion casters because they were gaining tons of mana. They did since nerf this family bonus a bit because they used to charge super fast. You'd use a mana generating tank and a bunch of these heroes, and they're gaining tons of mana and tons of minions. Now there's so many minion punishers that it just doesn't work as well, but still a solid hero. Was part of one of he was part of my best green team for quite a while. That team has been suffering a bit lately just with how much speed you need to compete. And he is average speed, but 360 to the target and nearby. So now the best damage at average speed that we've seen to 3 by a decent margin. Summons a soldier minion for each ally with 16% HP, which is fantastic. A little bonus healing there, essentially. And the soldier minion gives its owner the ability to counter attack with 60% of the damage received as long as you have that minion. And keep in mind, if the minion HP was only 100, for example, and you get hit with 900, or you get hit with 1,000 damage, you're still going to counterattack 600 damage. So the quantity that you're able to counterattack does exceed the HP of the minion, which is not true when it's a hero's HP. And if a hero has 100 HP left and they're counterattacked and you hit them, they will only counterattack for 60 if it is a 60% counterattack, because it only counts their remaining HP. So anyways, that's something to keep in mind, is these counterattacks can be quite significant, and that was something that I really liked about him. So worthy of consideration for sure. Still a very playable hero. Keep in mind of people that punish minions, and again, you're going to want some synergy of elemental defense down or regular defense down to really maximize this damage. All right, second to last, Owenworth. Pretty decent stats, both over 800 now, over 1,500. One of the best passives in the game, Stone Skin, for the next 3 times they receive damage, in this case because he's fast speed. In addition, he's just completely immune to poison damage. If you add, let's see, for 1, 2, and 3 years, immune to poison damage / immune to poison and burn. So if you got 1, you're immune to poison. 2, immune to poison and burn. 3, immune to poison, burn, and water damage. So it's nice that he's just can't be targeted by poison damage on his own. That's pretty great. Okay. So fast speed deals 450% damage to the target. So a pretty decent hit for fast speed. Not anything crazy, but in line with typical sniper stuff. These are the stats with a double limit break, which are not going up as much as I would hope to see them, but it still is about a 25% increase to attack and defense, which is substantial, and a 30% increase to HP. So, summons a Gargoyle Fiend for the target. The Fiend absorbs healing and disappears when it has absorbed equal to 30% of its owner's max health. When summoned, the fiend forces the target to cast mindless attack on a random ally when the mana is full. Lasts as long as the fiend is there. It can't be dispelled. However, the fiend disappears after 4 turns, so you don't get this permanent effect. But 4 turns of mindless attack at fast speed is very playable for a hero that has Stone Skin, immune to poison. And if the fiend does disappear and isn't healed away, it will do 150 damage to the target, which I believe does not change, correct? So the fast speed is fantastic because you can get them charged in 7 tiles with the right troops, and then you've got mindless attack. However, something to keep in mind is that the meta that we're in, for the most part, is one of ailment immunity, and that means this will be blocked as well. The fiend will be there, but the ailment immunity will block the mindless attack, and if the mindless attack wears off and the fiend stays, the fiend does not refresh the mindless attack. It is only present at the time of casting. So obviously that is his primary weakness. However, it's nice to have an ability like this in red because I don't believe there is any other mana control in red. I'm sure I'm missing somebody. But I might not be. I don't know. Let me know if I am missing someone. So definitely worthy of consideration. One of the stronger choices in my opinion. Last but not least, Quentin. Very interesting hero when he came out. One that was very appealing to me because of his unique ability. So we've got rogue class. Decent enough stats. Kind of more along the lines of Wolfgang where they're a bit dated. Alright, deals 420% damage to the target at fast speed. The target receives 100% damage for all the damage their allies receive for 4 turns. So if you hit someone with this ability, with this ailment, and then fire an AoE hitter, the hero with this ailment will take the damage they normally would, and then the damage that the other 4 heroes that, took from that AoE attack, say it was 250 damage each, this hero will then take 1,000 damage on top of what they already took because the damage of all other 4 heroes is then channeled through them as well. So it's a great way to guarantee killing one hero by dealing damage to other ones at the same time. I haven't found a long-term use for him. I still have emblems on him at the moment. I just never found a team where I'm like, I can consistently win with this team. I found ways where I could take out one hero for sure, but there's other potentially better ways to do that. So if you found a really unique way to play this ailment, I really do want to hear about that in the comments below because I think the idea behind this hero is so cool. I just never found a way to make it work in the way that I would have wanted to. All right, so as always, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on any or all of these heroes, depending on what you see fit. And lastly, my decision was Owenworth. Mindless attack, fantastic. 4 turns of it, even better. Fast speed, excellent. Stone Skin sealed the deal for me. And being in red was just an easy decision. So I think there's a lot of strong choices in here. I can't really advise you whether you should wait for the next one. I feel like the last one we had was not that good. This one has better choices in it. Some downright good choices, I would say. So it's dumb luck what it turns into, or who knows how they decide these things. So I can't advise you to go now or to wait. You'll have to just take this information that I presented and determine how to make it work best for you and what your roster needs. I really recommend having some form of mastery over your roster where you're aware of what your options are. You know about roughly your balance of healers to hitters. So, for example, I noticed my roster was very hitter dominant, and I'm like, okay, I need to level up some other healers to balance out my options for building new teams. So keep that kind of stuff in mind as you're looking into this and determine what you think is going to be the best option for you. I'm sure if you have questions, you can ask them in the comments, and either myself or any of my diligent viewers will be able to give you some assistance there. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please hit the like button and subscribe so other people can find this video more easily. Benefits me and the channel, and also the other people who can use this information as well to make the game more fun for them. So I'm all about that kind of thing. Help me out in that journey. Like and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.